PowerPoint, is it? Okay, all right, no PowerPoint today, fair enough. We are here today to celebrate Missoula's own art park, ladies and gentlemen, which is a pretty fabulous piece of business, and we need to acknowledge some folks who are going to go down in history for their patience, their perseverance, their kindness, their decency, and their love for the community, and they are the partners here. Behind me-ish, yes, there they are. We have Jim Sayer, all the way from across the street at Adventure Cycling Association. We have Laura Millen, the director of the Missoula Art Museum. Some of the finest tenants the city of Missoula could ever have. And we have Ginny Merriam, who is the communications director for the city of Missoula. And I need to give a particular and special shout out to Ginny, with whom I have worked now in the mayor's office for pushing a dozen years. And before that, we worked for a newspaper for a very long time together. Ginny has put her blood, sweat, tears, and just about everything else she has into this project, which has not gone as many projects tend to go as smoothly as you might think. Sometimes it turns out there's a little shortage of money, or occasionally a shortage of enthusiasm, or a combination thereof. And Ginny was relentless in her pursuit of making sure that this vision became a reality for our community right here at the crossroads of Patty and Pine. And I want to thank Ginny in particular for her hard work, as well as our other partners. Ladies and gentlemen, great cities are the product of, I'm going to put this away now. Great cities are the product of people working together. These three work together with countless faces in this audience to make sure that this happens right here in Missoula, Montana on a beautiful April day. The fact that people will enjoy this site long after we're dust is pretty amazing, and it also matters. Art, by the way, also matters. We cannot live, as it turns out, by bread alone, and lately I can't have carbs, so it's a thing. But art feeds the soul, art feeds the spirit, and art ensures that we speak a common language. And as long as we're speaking a common language, we got hope for this world. It's when we can't talk, when we can't communicate, when we can't enjoy a common notion or argue over a common object, we are lost. And so this is a place where countless Missoulians over many years, and folks who visit our lovely community, will be found over and over again. So welcome to the Art Park, ladies and gentlemen. Now it would appear that Chris Boza, our urban forester, will provide an urban forestry declaration as a demonstration site for, it turns out, trees. Chris.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and guests. I appreciate the opportunity to come up and speak briefly about one of the special attributes of this plaza. For those of you who have gray hair, or kind of like this, or if you have a good colorist, you may remember that phones used to be dial-up and you had party lines. Now in the 21st century, we do have some phones that are almost 21st technology. Trees are the same way. At one point in time, we used to plant trees in very small planters, very cramped locations for their feet, if you will. There's new technology out there now, cellular technology for trees. And in this particular location, there are cells underneath the concrete that hold this concrete plaza up that allow us to plant topsoil or install topsoil so that we could increase the rooting area for this one particular tree here from about 350 cubic feet up to about 960 cubic feet. And so when you talk about that in terms of trees, if you look at some of the trees in our downtown area, for as long as they have been here, they're maybe only a quarter of the size that they would normally be at the age that they are now. With cellular technology, or silva cells or strata cells, we can increase the amount of rooting space for those particular trees that will allow them to grow to meet their full potential and to provide us with the shade and the ambiance and the aesthetic qualities that we're looking for in our trees. What's special about this particular installation, it's the very first installation in the state of Montana. There are some other locations, say for instance in say Boise, Idaho, that's one of the closest installations. But this is the test plot. This is the beta case for silva cells in the city of Missoula and in the state of Montana. And I wanted to thank the folks who've worked with us in getting that installed. DNRC provided us with the grant monies to actually do the installation, and so that was worked into this particular project. And Karen Sippy asked me to remind you that there are folks wandering around who have name badges on, who are carrying little trees. They're little dogwood trees, and you are welcome to one of those trees, and you can take them and plant them in your backyard. And with that, I say thank you very much.
And thank you, Chris. Ladies and gentlemen, it turns out there's a proclamation, hard to believe, isn't it? However, I've been heavily edited, and I'm going to read just one portion of the proclamation, which Karen Sippy currently has in her possession, and those of you who'd like me to read the whole thing, come by any time. In honor of Arbor Day, as mayor of the city of Missoula, I urge all citizens to support efforts to protect our trees and woodlands, to support our city's urban forestry program, and to plant trees to gladden the hearts and promote the well-being of present and future generations. Now, our intrepid Parks Director, Donna Gockler, has a few words.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. I'm here on behalf of the City of Missoula Parks and Recreation Board and the staff at Parks and Recreation to welcome yet another wonderful park to the park system. There's about 60 parks in the park system throughout the community. We have parks for dogs and their owners and music festivals, and we're opening another new park next week, Fort Missoula Regional Park, which is a historic park with athletic facilities. We're opening the South Reserve Ped Bridge. And to bring us back here, Missoula is an absolutely amazing place. It's in our parks and our public spaces that we create our culture, we identify with our place. And the marriage of art and parks is a perfect marriage of place, culture, people, and the great outdoors. And so we welcome yet another beautiful park with another wonderful group of partners, the Missoula Art Park, Missoula Art Museum, Adventure Cycling, and all those that work so hard to make this happen. Thank you and enjoy.
And with a welcome to the neighborhood, Duncan Campbell from the Heart of Missoula Neighborhood Council.
Thank you very much. I'm actually speaking today for my wife, Kim Brown Campbell, who regrets that she can't be here. Kim is a member of the leadership team of the Heart of Missoula Neighborhood Council, and both Kim and I are residents of the historic East Side neighborhood and have lived here for about 13 years, just up Pine Street. It's hard to imagine that the MAM could be an even better neighbor than it's been over the years, but with the addition of this space, it is in fact a better neighbor. Public art is vital to the health and well-being of our city and our residents, and the Missoula, or the Heart of Missoula Neighborhood Council is delighted to welcome the park to the neighborhood. The council's support of the park came initially through a neighborhood council grant from the city of Missoula. The Missoula Art Museum partnered with Nancy Rattel from Missoula County to pen a grant that funded installation of the water station across the street, and I want to give a shout out to Nancy for that work. Ultimately, thank you. Ultimately, and most of all, the Heart of Missoula neighborhood is delighted to welcome the Art Park to the neighborhood. Thank you to the Missoula Art Museum for all you do to make Missoula such a rich and arts-centered community. Thank you.
And thank you, Duncan. And once again, from all the way across the street, Jim Sayer, the Executive Director of Adventure Cycling Association, another fine asset of the city of Missoula.
Well, good afternoon. It is so awesome to be here on a sunny day in Missoula. Missoula Art Park is a big exclamation point to a huge year for the local bike ped community. It really caps off our 40th anniversary year, which was last year, but so much happened, and here we are now with this beautiful art park. I also want to mention Free Cycles, which has been such a pivotal part of our community. It was part of one of those original installations before there was an art park, the Dome of Wheels, and they just purchased their building and property this year too, which was an awesome thing. This weekend, yeah, give it up for Free Cycles. This weekend, and especially April 22nd, is huge for all of us. First of all, it's Earth Day, and now more than ever, we need Earth Day. I mean, every day should be Earth Day, but we really need it now. But also, just so you know, how many of you know Thomas Stevens? Tomorrow is also Thomas Stevens Day, all of our staff knows, because Thomas Stevens was the first person to ride a bike all the way around the world, and he did it on a penny farthing bike, the big wheel bike. So if you want to see one of those, you can go over to our office after the event or after you've had a drink and some food here. But you can go over and see one along with everything else in our newly renovated East Wing, which we'll be showing. We're having tours to 6 o'clock, so if you want to go over. But it is Thomas Stevens Day tomorrow as well as Earth Day. So first to ride around the world. We have so many people to thank, and you'll hear more of them in a moment. But I really want to thank Sheila Snyder, who couldn't be here today. She's our Chief Operations Officer, and Sheila was really our point person on our operations team. And she is right now riding Cycle Zydeco in Louisiana. She's biking our talk, so I don't know what she's doing right now. But I want to thank our members who donated $75,000 cash towards the project, and really appreciate Adventure Cycling's membership support. And I want to thank our staff who made it through not only this construction, but all of the construction on our East Wing too, many in the audience, so thank you, staff. And Whitney Ford Terry, whose work you're beginning to sit on and participate with. And she's one of our staff and a tremendous artist in her own right. So thanks to Whitney too. So MAP's going to be amazing for all the people who come to Missoula, especially downtown Missoula. We had 1,500 visiting cyclists last year, and they're going to see this as their entree to our building and the art museum. And I wanted to bring up two adventure cyclists right here. My daughter Lucy, who's 18 and just finished with me last Saturday, the Southern Tier. We rode all the way from my mom's place in Southern California to Northern Florida, Pacific to Atlantic. 8.5 weeks, yeah. And we still love each other. So anyways, and I just got back from California meeting with a lot of other adventure cyclists, but my real hero, who has been featured on CNN this last month, is Ethel McDonald, who just turned 79 and has ridden all over the world. And so I'm going to turn it over to Ethel now, but I just want to say thanks again, especially to Laura. Laura deserves enormous props for all her work on this project. She really is a major part of what makes Missoula great. So here's Ethel McDonald.
Thank you. Okay, thanks, Jim. I haven't biked all over the world, just Europe mainly, and the Philippines, and Ireland. But beyond that, no. I was biking in Missoula going down Higgins Avenue, actually a year or two ago, with my usual set of panniers, at least two, just because they're there, and another one maybe in case I stop at the grocery store. And somebody hollered, "Welcome to Missoula," thinking I was a bike tourist, of course. And it just reminded me how two things, that bike-friendly Missoula is, and how many bike tourists we get every year. And I'm a host of bike tourists. I've had tourists from Denmark, Germany, France, Spain, Italy, Malaysia, and and then of course hundreds from the United States. If you doubt how many bike tourists come through every year, it'll be so easy now with this open space. Go into adventure cycling in August or September and look at the pictures of all the cyclists who have stopped at adventure cycling. And I love this park because of the collaboration between the sports, the bikes, and the art. And I love it because it's another welcome to Missoula for bicyclists. And it's a great place that they will be able to come, relax, as will other tourists, and meet people here, other bike tourists and this community. It's an actual cultural exchange. And I love it because it's going to, I always tell my guests about the art museum, but they don't always find it. But now I think they're going to find it a lot faster. So it's a great place, and I love it for all of this. I love the bringing together the bike and art. And speaking of free cycles, just a few days ago, I got an email from them for something, an event, and they had this quote, which is so perfect for right now. It's by Grant Peterson. I have no idea who he is, but he said, "Think of bicycles as a rideable form of art that can just about save the world." Thank you.
The designers and builders are really the unsung heroes of this phenomenal project. Okay, hold on. First of all those who said yes to this project early on, a handful of dedicated individuals, engineers, and folks at the city, and eventually became a committee that helped us grow and develop a vision for the project, select our landscape designer, participate in the conceptual design phase, the public charrette, the vetting of the final design, and tirelessly raising funds to make this park a reality. We thank you. The outstanding design firm we selected, SPVV Landscape Design, simply knocked themselves out and gave above and beyond their contract. Thus, they are recognized on the illustrious donor wall. There are subcontractors also who were engaged by SPVV, who contributed so much both to the project and through their work: Territorial Landworks, DC Engineering, Maglin Furniture, and Hunter Irrigation. They were all so responsive and generously donated to the project on top. Our contractor, Terabella, held the highest standard for our construction and of this cultural gem, and indeed exceeded it. No contractor could have been more dedicated, conscientious, and giving. Terabella's subs and suppliers were fantastic too. And a special shout out to Petite Construction, who donated the traffic control and fencing for our project. Our landscape extraordinaire, Caris Nursery and Landscaping, has the biggest heart of all and demonstrates their love for this community through projects like this, which was performed gratis. Thank you all. Thank you all for demonstrating the art of design, building, and landscape architecture. In building it, we have already embraced Missoula's values, bringing diverse people together in an energized, rejuvenated streetscape. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Leslie Della Piazza, and I was the chair of the Missoula Art Park Committee. My role in today's dedication is to really focus on the public-private partnership that made this project happen. Not everybody probably is aware that the Missoula Art Museum is actually owned by the city, the building. We lease the building from the city. This is therefore the City of Missoula space, which is why it's now a city park. But it was really the public and private partnership coming together that was able to make this project happen. I cannot believe somebody's asking me to speak louder. That's so rare for me. So adventure cycling and Missoula Art Museum and the City of Missoula formed this public-private partnership. And then through the city's investment, they inspired additional support from the county, state, and federal government entities. And then in addition, on the private side, we have received support to date from 10 foundations, 35 businesses, and over 100 individual donors. And as the chair of the committee that worked to raise funds for the park, it's my job, of course, to remind you all that it takes a lot of community and it takes a lot of money to complete a project like this. We're still in the finishing stages of doing our fundraising, and we would love to invite anyone and everyone who would like to make a contribution to do so, either through adventure cycling or the Missoula Art Museum. We have a temporary donor wall on the fence over here, and you can see all of your friends and neighbors who have contributed to date. And we want to mention that all donations of $500 and above will be recognized on a beautifully designed permanent donor wall, which will replace this temporary signage that we have right now. We say thank you, Missoula, and enjoy the park.
Hi, I'm Brandon Ranches, the senior curator. And I wanted to say that the artwork that you're standing next to or sitting on in some cases is part of the inaugural exhibition By the Bike. So we're really proud of that. It's in honor of our partnership, of course, with Adventure Cycling. And when we came up with this idea, these artists have been working on this for about a year and a half, kind of laboring towards this moment right now. We have Ann Appleby over here and Kim Reineking, Keith Goodhart, Jeremy Hatch, Whitney Ford Terry, and Pat Zentz, who you'll hear from in just a moment. But thank you for applauding for those artists, because they've really put their heart and soul into these artworks and thinking about how they'd work as public art in this space. This was all made possible as a series of commissions from Shady Spruce Hostel. So they've sponsored this exhibition and provided the funds that we could ask these artists to come up with these wonderful projects here. The artists initially were just encouraged to make an artwork that responded physically or conceptually to the idea of the bike, kind of the bike as the highest pinnacle of human evolution, and we're really excited with the pieces that they came up with. We really wanted to say thank you specifically to the artists for being so enthusiastic and putting their best creative foot forward for these pieces and coming up with such imaginative responses to a theme, which I think a themed exhibition is sometimes very difficult for people to participate in. I'm going to turn this over to Pat Zentz. He's the sculptor who's behind Cycles right here in front of me, and he'll talk a little bit about that and a little bit about the value of public art. So please help me welcome Pat Zentz.
It's a real privilege always to be here. Thanks. And especially with the other artists who are here, some of whom I haven't known and others who I have. And I'm just honored to be in their presence.
Shout into the mic.
That good? Yeah. About a year and a half ago, Brandon called and asked if I'd be willing to participate in this project. And I said yes and hung up the phone and was shocked that I had said yes. I'll get back to that in a minute, but in the interim, I want you to understand that, how quite literally full my heart is today. A year and a half ago, the political tone in this country was quite different than it is now. And it fills me with great pride and pleasure to see us as citizens or as guests of this country, whatever you happen to be, here assembled to celebrate not only art, but trees in peace. So I'm very happy to be part of this, and in the context of the museum in a public space. So I was shocked by Brandon's question and my answer to it, because I'd become pretty disgruntled. I'm old, I've been around a long time, and I've done a lot of public works all around the country. When I first started, the first commission I ever got was in Seattle, and a single person called me up, said they knew my work and they'd like a public piece of art for their hospital. And I said yes and did that, and it was great. There were no holds barred. I could do whatever I want. They were establishing a public arena as a place to invent and create new ideas in a public space. The second one was the same type of thing in a very different place. That was in Las Vegas. Again, just a single person calling and three persons overviewing it. The last one I had, and this is when I kind of quit doing public works like this, was 10 years ago, and I had to deal with a board of 37 people, most of who didn't even know anything about art, but had other concerns. So I figured out that it was not a place to advance ideas. So as I contemplated why I had said yes to Brandon, I realized that this place is special. They invited me in the same way that those first public art proposals had invited me. There were no holds barred. I could do whatever I want, and I was going to be with other artists doing the same thing. So I said yes. Plus, you can't find a greater champion of Laura Millen and what she's done here with this museum than me. It's a place that knows how to... She's made it a place that knows how to treat you as the public and encourage you to understand art as something that's made by other people, just like you, looking at the world just like you do in different ways, but expressing that in visual and performance way and all kinds of ways. So anyway, I'm extremely pleased to be here, and I think the other thing that you need to know is that none of this is a singular kind of thing. Art is a collaborative thing, no matter how much one person gets credit for doing something. We had a terrible glitch installing this piece yesterday because of an error I had made. And three heroes stepped forward: Craig Mentier, John Calsbeek, and Grant with Terabella, right, Grant? And if these three guys are the only people to represent this community, you would be at the highest level. They were true heroes, and they came in inventively and said, "No, Pat, you need to do this, you need to settle down. It's in our hands, we'll fix it," and they did. So all of them, I'm very, very grateful. And the other people who helped. I also need to thank my wife, because she puts up with the madness and mayhem that ensues about a month out on these pieces. So, and I also have family here that I want to thank for their help and support. But anyway, public art is important for this simple reason. It puts art in your way, in an incidental way, in a daily course of your life. And if it inspires you, it works. If it doesn't, you can walk right by it and it doesn't matter. But it gives you the option of having a change in your perspective on things. And I couldn't celebrate this museum more, because living in this space as we do, and knowing it's great open spaces that we ride across with bicycles and hike and horses and whatever, the only way to save that space is to make these urban spaces the same kind of delight that turns being a human into the special thing that it is. Thanks.
Thank you, everyone, each and every one of you, for coming to celebrate this opening day with us. And we'd like to invite you now to come into MAM, also to visit Adventure Cycling. We're going to raise a toast of bubbly to this project, so please join us. Thank you so much.